Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another story for you. This is a Best of Redditor update and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Putting a Padlock on My Son's Bedroom Door?
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Originally posted February 16th, 2021. My 41 female son, 22, left for basic training last Friday. Well, now it's just way different than anything I had imagined. I cried for days and I miss him very much. He called once to let me know that he was safe, but I most likely will not get to talk to him for the next 12 weeks. I went to the grocery store on Sunday. When I came home, I heard my daughter, 16 female, screaming at my middle son, 20 male. When I went to see what was going on, I saw my middle son carrying a laundry basket full of my oldest son's clothes and his PS4. I also saw my husband, 42 male, all of my kid's bio father, putting the rest of his things in garbage bags. My daughter was screaming at both of them to put everything back and that it was Trav's things and not garbage. I asked both my husband and middle son what the f was going on. My son said that his father told him he could take what he wants. Dude, he's just in basic. He hasn't passed. And even then, what the f? At that point, I was livid with both of them and said that this was still Trev's home and that until he told me otherwise, those were still his things and they will be kept in his room until he asks for them. My husband said that it didn't matter. Trev was a man now and his home would be wherever the military sent him. I told my husband that he was being cruel to Trev and that this would always be his home. My daughter was hysterical at this point and I told them both that they were despicable for treating his room and things like a shopping mall. The next day, I went out and bought a padlock for his bedroom door and I have one key in the glove box of my car. The other will be taken to my office and locked in my filing cabinet. When my husband saw the padlock, he flipped and told me that I was being over dramatic and that this was his house and he would just take a crowbar and pry it off. I told my husband and Jeff that if I saw either of them in that room again or found that someone tampered with that lock, they would both be out of the house. My husband is now calling me a grieving war widow. What the f is with this guy? And my middle son is saying that he is entitled to the bigger room now that Trev is gone. Meanwhile, all of this drama is making Trev leaving harder on my poor daughter who is truly having a hard time with her big brother being gone. My husband is demanding I take the lock off the door and let him clean out the room. I refused to do this and told him that the only way the room is getting cleaned out would be if Trev no longer wants to live there. Am I the astronaut for putting a padlock on the door? This is not what I thought it was going to be at all. Top comments, NTA, will your other son have all of his things put in trash bag bins too? Trash bin bags, yes. You know, since he's a man as well, if your middle son wants a bigger room, he is welcome to find one in his own apartment with his new roommate, your husband. He is 20. Best of luck to your son and thank him for his service. Stay strong, mama. There's an update next day, but before that, what the f? Why would the two of them be in such a hurry to raid all of his shit? What was that relationship like? Did they have one? Did they hate each other? Because it feels like they hated each other. You truly got to just have no respect for somebody to do this to their space and their belongings. And that's his dad. His dad and his brother who are doing this and give zero shits. So were they just generally opposed to him enlisting? And this is like a protest? This is closure for them somehow? It's f***ed up. Mostly, I'm more disappointed in the father than anything because as a dad, these are not the actions of a father. At worst case scenario, parents could put it in storage or put it something like that, but they're just raiding shit. None of it makes any sense here. Also, I think this 20-year-old brother's gonna have a rude awakening because his older brother's gonna come back from basic jacked AF and just put him in the ground. It's like, oh yeah, no, he went to go become a hard ass and then he's gonna come back here and find out that you this stuff. Are you thinking about consequences at all here? Even dad too. Come on, man. Here's the update next day, February 17th, 2021. I went to bed shortly after I wrote this post and wanted to thank everybody for their commenting, even the negative ones, to answer a few questions. I spoke to Jeff this morning and asked if he had talked to Trev prior to him leaving about taking his PS4 and clothes, and he admitted he did not. I told him that he was stealing his brother's belongings, and he had until noon today to return all of them. He agreed reluctantly to return everything. I told Jeff that if I saw him near his brother's room again, he would have to find someplace else to live because I would not have my children stealing from each other, especially when the other child is not here. 2. I spoke to my husband this morning as well and asked why he did what he did. He has admitted that he is having a difficult time with Trev being gone, and anytime we walked past his room, he was reminded that he isn't here anymore. Hold up. Hold the phone here, ladies and gentlemen. No reasonable human being is like, yeah, I just got really emotional every time I walked by that room. So I thought because I respect him so much, if I disrespect him really strongly, maybe that'll balance out. He just doesn't want to have to look at it anymore. He doesn't want to have to face things that cause an emotional reaction in him. That's what he's saying right now. Grow the up, Dad. He broke down and said that he missed him and he was sorry. Oh, missed him so much, you disrespected all of his shit. Cool, makes perfect sense. He too agreed that what they were doing was wrong and said that he would put everything back the way it was until Trev came home and decided what to do with his things and what he planned to take when he got to his permanent duty station. My husband is former Navy and he said that he is not there to protect his son and he is scared. He has seen combat and does not want his son to have to see the things that he saw. Okay, there's a potential trauma response involved here now. Potential. Yeah, so he just didn't want to have to face the emotion. And if this emotion takes him down a trauma response path, doing whatever he could to not have to look at it, but just keep the door closed. Does that room look different with the door closed, whether it's empty or not? No. If it bothers you that much, keep the door closed. Because what you're trying to do, Dad, you're trying to create the scene where it's like he's already dead. So you're going to go ahead and get used to seeing that. That way, if and when something does happen to him later on, it's an easier transition for you then. So it's like a safety behavior for you. I don't think he was thinking about his son. I think he was thinking about himself. If his response here is accurate in any way and it's not just a cooked up bullshit story, I think he was only thinking about himself. And he was going to go ahead and prepare himself for the fact that his son was going to be not coming back ever, and was going to go ahead and get himself used to that scene so that he didn't have to deal with it later on because he would already be conditioned to it. It's like a coping mechanism, but a preventative one. So it's a safety behavior. 3, the entire family agreed that Trev's room would be left the way it was while he was in boot camp and training school, especially since he was only able to take the clothes on his back and his phone when he left for basic. The agreement was that when he was sent to his permanent duty station, he would make an inventory of what items he needed and we would store or donate what he did not want and ship the things that would not fit into a suitcase. My daughter and her Bubba are very close. This transition has been very hard on her, which in turn has made things worse for me because not only am I concerned about my son, but I'm concerned about my poor daughter who is clearly struggling with him being gone. Complicated for a parent, right? You don't only have to feel what you feel, but you also have to be strong for the people who are feeling the similar things as well, or at least you feel like you do. I feel like this is an opportunity for you to be human though, and for you to show your daughter that it's okay to be human and to feel that with her instead of trying to be stoic, instead of trying to be the person that keeps everything in check, right? My husband and I discuss it and we think it is wise to find her somebody to talk to, or even a sibling support group for active duty military where she can go and talk about her feelings and fears. Okay, and that's the end. Okay, so everybody's bending to OP/Mama's will right now and following her suggestions or demands because she said she was going to kick them both out. Lacey Lex agreed. Dad needs to go to therapy too. Everybody needs therapy here. And I imagine that when you have a child that enlists or gets deployed, or I imagine that everybody in that family needs therapy. Everybody needs therapy, period, right? But that's a life-changing event. And that's something that everybody has to adjust to because there is a large chunk of fear attached to it. There's a presumed inevitability. There is this possibility of things going really bad that you can't ignore. But for some people, I feel like that's the all-consuming spot. That's the spot where they live, and that's the spot where they become hyper-focused on it being the actuality. And that's a trauma response, right? That is like, we're heading into spring for me, and whenever storms start rolling in, my brain automatically is going for prepping for worst case scenario. This is like Dad's version of war and his son going off to war. Everybody needs help here. What they did was deeply disrespectful and not constructive in any way, shape, or form. And I hope, even though they've apologized for it and they say they'll make it right, I think your son still needs to find out what they did, and those guys need to have a discussion about it. Blah.